ongoing war in Iran and the broader Middle East. As per the latest reports, oil prices have surged more than 5% today. The increase comes amid resistance from several countries to US President Donald Trump's call to secure the Strait of Hormuz, and while Iran targets neighboring oil-producing nations. At market open, US West Texas Intermediate rose above $98 a barrel, with Brent crude also jumping over 5% before settling slightly lower. Closely following these developments, Kazakhstan has announced plans to export 474,000 metric tons of oil through the Caspian Pipeline Consortium this month. Additional shipments include 210,000 tons to Germany and 138,000 tons via the Baku to Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline. Moreover, Kazakhstan also plans to transship 94,000 metric tons from the Tegiz oil field through the Black Sea port of Batumi in Georgia. Now, joining us to discuss the economic implications and the global instability that this conflict is causing to the global economy is Dr. Jaijit Bhattacharya. He is an economist and policy expert. He joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us here on the broadcast. It's a great pleasure to talk to you. First of all, the economic implications of this continue to put the global economy in spiral. Uncertainty is everywhere. What have you made of the current movements by the global economic powerhouses, including the United States, in response to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Actually, what the reaction has been kind of showcases the fragility of even the economically powerful economies. They are all dependent on energy, and the modern economies run on oil in addition to other forms of energy. Oil is still a very significant portion of energy of any large economy, and therefore, as and when there is a choke on the supply of oil, it has got a huge repercussion. And it's not just about energy, it's also about the downstream of the petrochemicals. For example, many of the important medicines are going to get impacted because the downstream of many of the petrochemicals is pharmaceuticals. For example, if propylene is not available, then there's an impact on isopropyl alcohol, and there's also impact on similar other medicines such as propylene glycol, and hence the impact is multidimensional. And obviously, it ends up having an impact on food, which is again very, very critical because food moves on oil. All the transportation of food happens on diesel trucks. And the third important point is actually also just the agriculture itself, because a lot of the fertilizers are dependent on petrochemicals as an upstream, especially fertilizers that are used in places like India and Africa, where urea is very, very critical. Supply of nitrogen fertilizer is very important, and hence there is a plethora of impact that's rippling through, and even the strongest of economies has been impacted with this.
So, what have you made of the reaction from the United States? Of course, the Strait of Hormuz is if not the only point of leverage that Iran does have to affect the global trade. Does this seem like the United States had planned for this, or does this seem like a last-minute scramble to get a plan together?
See, from the reaction of the United States, it looks like they did not really factor in this contingency. And it's strange because Iran has been saying from day one that they'll put a choke on the Hormuz Strait, which basically implies that there will be the repercussion that we are seeing today based on petrochemicals and petroleum. And the response that we see from the US is to go back to their allies to ask them for a naval support on the Strait, where even the US Navy has not really ventured in. And it's also a little difficult to understand why they ridiculed UK when the UK was willing to send some naval support at the beginning of the conflict, and now they're going back to UK and others to actually request them to provide the support again, especially when the US Navy itself is finding it difficult to bring their naval assets to the Strait per se. They're operating outside of the Strait. So they're finding it difficult to go in. So it's strange why these factors, both from military perspective and from a supply chain perspective, had not been factored in earlier.
Okay, Dr. Bhattacharya, do stay with us. We're turning over to another update stemming from this global oil crisis, where India has received 2 crucial LPG shipments from the Strait of Hormuz amid the escalating Middle East crisis. The tanker Shivalak arrived yesterday at Mundra port carrying over 46,000 metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas, which experts say is enough to meet nearly 1 day of India's total LPG import requirement. Following Shivalak, the second oil tanker, the Nanda Devi, arrived today at Vanina port with more than 47,000 metric tons of LPG. Authorities have confirmed that all Indian seafarers in the Persian Gulf remain safe and no incidents have been reported during the transit. Of the 24 Indian-flagged vessels present in the Gulf, Shivalak and Nanda Devi have successfully completed their voyages and they are now proceeding towards delivery ports. The 2 shipments are anticipated to stabilize India's LPG supply, easing shortages that have led to long queues in cities and raised concerns among small business owners who rely on domestic gas. Dr. Bhattacharya, is this going to be enough for India? Is this going to solve the problems, those shortages in LPG that the country has been facing over the past 2 weeks?
Well, actually not. It's more of a signaling so that there is no hoarding of energy. So there's no hoarding of LPG cylinders and so on and so forth. As per the calculations of C-DEP research, the total gas that has come in between the ship Shivalik and the ship Nanda Devi together accounts for 1 day of India's LPG requirement. So it's not that that each one of them is catering to 1 day's requirement. And obviously, out of, let's say, the next 30 days, if the conflict continues, we need to have 60 such ships coming in. So it's a good start. It's a signal. And it also shows that the geopolitical strategy of India and Iran are really working. And those who are not involved in the conflicts and those who did not start the conflict are being spared. So it shows flexibility on both sides. And I believe this is just the starting. So it's more of a signaling rather than solving the actual gas problem.
Dr. Bhattacharya, thank you so much for taking